Hey, this is Nick Hawks with Paleo Treats, back for more of the What is Paleo series. Today, we're going to talk about the 7 Pillars of Paleo. But before that, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on why I'm talking to you about this. My wife Lee and I started Paleo in 2009. We started Paleo Treats about 2 weeks after we started Paleo because we saw there wasn't a way to have a healthy, clean dessert. So as we got into Paleo, we had a bunch of questions. Now at first, that first year or so, it really revolved around the diet. What does Paleo mean when you sit down to have a meal for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, dessert, all that stuff? As we began to have a more nuanced understanding and a deeper understanding of Paleo, as we began to incorporate that idea of 2 million years of evolution shaping humans for happiness, really for survival, for stoke, for being able to hunt stuff down, for being able to enjoy food, to stay alive and reproduce, we started looking at all of the different pieces that are far beyond just diet that make up Paleo. Maybe about year 4 or 5, Lee and I started calling these different pieces the 7 Pillars of Paleo. When we started thinking about this idea of the 7 pillars, it came from seeing that nutrition wasn't just the only thing that affected your health, your happiness, the entirety of your life, how successful you were, all that stuff. It wasn't just nutrition. You could eat really healthy, but maybe you weren't working out a bunch, maybe you didn't have a strong community, didn't have good friends around you, weren't making time to be in nature, all these other things. And so we started to see like, okay, there's these 7 different pieces that need to come together in order to live the life that you literally evolved to live. So we start the 7 pillars. The first one is nutrition. All right, so what you eat matters. In the big picture, it's basically a low inflammatory diet and a high nutritionally dense diet. All right, I'll have another video talking specifically about nutrition and Paleo, probably a couple more because it is a pretty deep topic. But just for this pillars piece, that's the first pillar. So you get your nutrition right, and everything else starts to fall into place. The second part that a lot of people do get is movement. So you think about how you move. Now it doesn't matter if you CrossFit, if you're an ultra marathoner, if you do yoga, if you're a cyclist, triathlete, whatever, combat sports, all of those things count towards this idea of movement. You were created, you were born, you were evolved over the course of 2 million years, and you are the product of that end 2 million year mark. You evolved to move. And so really it's more about making sure that your body moves and not so much about making sure that you do deadlifts or long runs or whatever it is. Just get out there and get moving. The next one that we found is really important is community. So this is the idea of being very conscious of who you're surrounding yourself with and who you're around. Maybe you've got a toxic work environment and you've just got to recognize that and figure how much of it can you fix and how much of it do you just need to ignore, and then where do you need to make up for that? Maybe at home, maybe with your friends, somewhere else. But recognizing that community, that we humans evolved to live together. We didn't evolve to live as lone wolves. We didn't evolve to live solo for long periods of time. We evolved to live together. So making sure that you respect that, honor that in your daily, weekly, monthly life. The next piece is restoration. So we started thinking about restoration. When we first started thinking about it, we called it sleep. But then we began to expand it as we discovered float tanks and we discovered spending time in nature, spending time by ourselves. So despite the fact that community is one of the pillars, of course, spending time by yourself can be super restorative, depending on if you're an introvert, extrovert, what you're into, what you've had in your past history, all that stuff. But this idea of restoration, making sure that you take time to restore. So if you do a hard workout, or if you eat garbage food, if you fall off the wagon, that happens to everybody, is making sure that you put time into your lifestyle to restore back to what your birthright is, right? You're supposed to be healthy, intelligent, able to move around, able to have whatever it is that you want. So that's restoration. Next up is equally important and a part of restoration, and that's spending time in nature. Right? So you see these all begin to be linked. And as you stack them on top of each other, then you just get more and more of the benefits. So if you are going out into nature, if you're taking hikes in the wild, if you're sleeping out, on the ground, if you're checking out the stars, if you're laying out in the sun, all of those things contribute to you being a much healthier person, and also honor that kind of 2 million year evolution span that shaped you to be the person you are. The last two things are related, but we think of them as different enough that they're worth splitting out. The first one is the mind. And so these are all the things that you can do with your mind. We have this amazing computer on top of our shoulders that we all walk around with that many of us don't use to its fullest capacity. So that's exploring it with basic memorization drills, all the way to meditation, understanding just how far you can go with shaping your reality based on how you see it, on seeing opportunities versus setbacks or hurdles, not seeing obstacles or seeing ways around them, all of those things. That's all in that mind pillar. And we think of this, it's not just there are a bunch of dumb cavemen cruising around not paying attention, is that there are many steps between them and us, but they were constantly looking to be better and better. And one of the ways that they did that was through the use of the mind. The last thing that we think of as in these 7 pillars of paleo is purpose. And so that is one of those things where you're walking through your day, you can get all of these nailed, but if you don't have your purpose down, sometimes it can feel as if you're pretty lost and you're missing some important stuff. So like I said, I'll do another video on each one of these and go through them in a little more depth, but these are what we call the 7 pillars of paleo. This is what Lee and I have found to work really well for us as we're trying to understand the best, healthiest way to live a joyful life. And I would love it if this stuff helps you out. Thanks so much for watching. Again, I'm Nick Hawks with Paleo Treats. Take care. Ciao, ciao.